Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com. alexmercedcoder.com and Dev Nursery. But this video, I think we're going to be doing the last of these front-end builds, which will be in Lit Element. Lit Element is from Google, and just to kind of explain the context of this. So when it came to working with like templating, Google came out with this templating function called Lit Element, which allows you to use an HTML function or tag template literals to create like reactive HTML templates. And then Lit Element builds on top of that a web component base class that allows you to use those HTML templates to build reactive web components. So it's kind of like what I was trying to do with Amponent, but you know, better because Google made it. But let's kind of build a project with it, and you'll see what it does. It's pretty cool. And we'll just build the same to-do app. So once again, I need to start the API. So let me just close the terminal, open this. I'm pretty sure that I'm probably going to need to kill port 10,000 again. So let me just find that right there. Okay, so that's done. Now let's run the dev server. Okay, API is running. And let's generate a new project. A new terminal. npm init vitae. Okay, and this is just going to be lit to-dos. And see that they have a lit element template. I don't want it with TypeScript. Okay. So I'm going to cd into that. Lit to-dos. So I'm going to cd into, cd into lit to-dos, do an npm install. Let's take a look at the layout. So again, we see our traditional source folder. Okay, and they have like this original OG temp component. And so you can see like basically there's the base class, the HTML template tag, and then they have a CSS one for passing CSS to your component. Okay, so essentially the way it works is you create a class, and then you're going to define a static getter for styles and a static getter for properties. Okay, and that's essentially how you're going to get the state. And then in the constructor, you will define sort of like, and basically what you're doing here is you're typing the state. Okay, so you're saying, okay, this is a type string, so that way you can validate what the things are. And then here in the constructor, you actually will sit there and assign those properties. Okay, those initial properties, and then you would pass in a render function. And essentially what happens is anytime so again, in web components, when you, like this was the issue with like Amponent, like I was able to create props, but props just takes in strings because HTML tags are just treated as like strings. So the question is, how do you pass in like an object or an array or a function? So in this case, whenever you want to use like if you're binding a JavaScript property, well, in this case, we don't really see an example of this, but because a number is a number and this is not name. But theoretically, if I wanted to bind like a property, I would put like a dot in front of it. And in this case, what we're putting is a @click, and what the @click means is that you're binding a function to it. So no, it's not going to just put the function as a string there. It's actually going to like do some magic to make that button have that function. And this is the thing that I want to like kind of figure out, like how do they do that. But I'm going to just spend my own time reading the source code later on because I'm curious. I like to know how to do things. Okay, so and then you register the element. Okay, and this is the kind of thing I was trying to avoid with Amponent. The idea was like having this whole two-step, make a class and then register the class, make it where with that one function it just kind of does the whole thing, and you just have to worry about passing in the relative points. And I think Amponent handled that very well. It's just this props issue. Although, again, nice thing about the HTML element, the HTML tag templates, is that it does a cool kind of efficient way of like diffing, meaning comparing the differences between sort of like a previous render and a future render, kind of like a virtual DOM, but without the overhead. That is pretty efficient and pretty fast. So that's kind of like the nice thing about like this. So okay, so we got the idea. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this boilerplate and make the components that we usually make. So that's gonna be app.js, Okay, new file, form.js and display.js. And I'm just going to copy this boilerplate to all of them. I'm going to focus on just doing app, so I'm just going to call this my app. And then again, the element will be app. Okay. And styles, I'll leave that alone for now. Okay, properties. Okay, let's think about what we want as properties. Initially, we're going to need a place for to-dos. Okay, so it's going to be a type of array. And count, we don't need a count. To-dos, the other big one is going to be show form. Okay. So that'll be a Boolean. Okay, cool. And then the template should start off with like a div, and in that div we'll have h1 Alex's to-do app, and we'll start with that first. Let's just get that appearing. Okay, and this dot to-dos will equal an empty array at first, and this dot show form will equal false at first. Okay, and then again, this is going to be clicking to the app element. I don't need this method right now. Okay, that's fine with me. So we hit save. Okay. And what we're going to do is go to the index.html and replace this with app. App. There we go. So let's run the dev server. Run dev. Localhost 3000. Okay. I don't see anything, so let's take a look at our dev tools. Why not? App. Oh, because I'm not importing it anywhere, that's why. How's it doing it? Okay, so it's importing that initial file. So source, let's change this to app.js. There we go, Alex's to-do app. Yay. So we got that. That's all fine and good. Now what we want to do is go get our to-dos. Okay, so form. Okay, and I'm going to define this.url, but I'm not going to put it in properties because it's not something that requires reactivity. This.url http // localhost 10,000 /to-dos. Okay. Now let's take a look at lifecycle. Okay, so we're just using the normal web component lifecycle callback, so connected callback, that's easy enough. Let me just take a look to make sure we didn't get any errors from there. Okay. This thing's being a little uncooperative. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to app. And what we want to do is do a connected callback method, connected callback. And let's make that async. And what I want to do is do const response equals await, fetch this.url, const data equals await, await response.json, and then we can set this dot to-dos to equal data. Okay. Let me take a look at my URL. Did I do something wrong with the URL? Oh, it's because I put it in the wrong component. So this.url equals http/localhost 10,000/todos. Okay, there we go. So that's all fine and good. Oh, well, we don't see Alex's to-dos anymore. I don't like that. Why did that go away? So we're getting the right to-dos. The elements. It says the shadow root's open, but doesn't let me access it. But it's saying it's empty. Why? Turn HTML. Okay, so there must be something I'm missing about setting properties. So some properties change, methods and properties, assorted use cases. Okay, let's see here. Line several callbacks. Oh, okay, so I need to do that. So that's probably why. Super dot connected callback. See if that makes a difference. Yep. Okay, so that makes a difference. Okay, read the documentation. A good thing to do. Okay, so we got the data. Now the thing is, I now want to return. Let's go set up that display component. Okay, so the display component will receive to-dos. Now let's see, how does props work in here? Templating properties. Okay, what happens? Configure attributes, configure property, create your own property accessors, declare properties, declare your elements properties using the static properties field. It has an options object. The options object can have the following properties: attribute, whether the property is associated with an attribute or a custom name for the associated attribute, default true. Converter, a custom for converting between properties and attributes if unspecified. Okay. Declare properties with decorators. Got all that. I want to see is how do you do it in the templating. Click prop 5. Okay, let's make sure that prop. Okay, so let's just see here. Passing props inlet element. I looked this up yesterday and it all made sense. Okay. Cool. It's a dot. Okay. That's what I thought. Okay, so in that case, we do want to have a property called to-dos. It's going to be a type string. That's all I know so far. So this dot to-dos still going to start off with as an empty array. Okay, and again we're going to call this display. And down here we're going to change this to display. And display. Don't need this right now. Boop, boop. And essentially what I'm expecting, okay, is that we're going to have this dot to-dos. This dot to-dos dot map. And then for each to-do, we will return a thing. And again, that array will then be joined. Okay. Okay, and again, do I use the HTML tag with mapping? Let's see here. Declare properties, menu, templates. Okay, template syntax cheat sheet. Loops conditional, so loop. Okay, so yeah, let's do it that way. Good. Property, yep, so there's the dot. Boolean attribute, yep, that's fine. Event handler. Okay, so we put a question mark before it if it's a Boolean attribute. That's good to know. And at click if it's an event handler. Okay. So in this case, what I want to do is just return, again, a string. Oh wait, you do use the HTML tag template literal again. Okay, so good thing I did a double take on that. Okay, a return. And what I want to return is, for each of these things, a div. And then for each div, an h1 that basically inside of it says, let's make that an h3. To do dot reminder. And then to do dot completed. If it's true, give us O. If it's false, give us an X. Okay. Now let's see here. Are we getting that? Okay. Well, we're not rendering this display component yet. So now let's import display. So import / display. Okay. And then I should be able to put that in here. Display. Okay. Technically, oh, I have to pass the to-dos as a prop. So let me just go back and refer to a template. Data bindings a property. So this would be like dot to-dos equals. Okay. Equals this dot to-dos. Okay. And I get object. No features. To-dos, that's kind of like what this is getting at. Dot on click dot to-dos equals this dot to do. So it's receiving the array, but they're just object. So let's go back to display. And let me do this. This is console log. Log to do on each round. Okay, so it's getting the object. It's getting it. So where is it not happy? Let's see here. This belongs to. Oh, I see. That's outside of the function. So I'd want this here. Oh, actually that worked. He just returned a bunch of HTML renders. That's fine. That works for me. I didn't have to do the join. Good, because it wasn't turning it into a big string. So that works for me. Cool. Oh, because basically with the HTML thing, it doesn't return a string. It returns like an HTML render object thing. And that has a render method. That's why I was doing that. Okay, so I get it. I get it. Okay, I'm thinking too hard about it. Okay, Alex's to-do app. That is all fine and good. Then we're going to be doing the form. So we head over to the form and start setting that up. Okay, and the form property is going to want to receive. We're going to want reminder, which is going to be type string. There's going to be okay, I forget. Does that require me to put commas in front? Yeah. Comma reminder, which is a type string. ID, which is also a type string. Okay, action, which will be type string. Then after action, we are going to want completed, which will be of type Boolean. Boolean, and then we want anything else I think we're going to need here. We're eventually going to need the handle create function, which is going to be of type function, and the handle update function, which will be of type function. Okie dokie. Let's define those. This dot name. Let's see here. This dot reminder. Okay, it's going to equal an empty string. This dot ID underscore ID equals blank an empty string. This dot action equals create. This dot completed equals false. Okay, and this dot handle create will just equal an empty function. And this dot handle update will equal an empty function. Okay, so that's all fun and good. Okay, let's make the form. Then there's going to be a input type equals text, and it's going to have a value that equals this dot reminder. Okay, that's that. Then we're going to have an input of type equals checkbox, but it's going to have that checked property, which will equal this dot completed. And then it's going to have a input of type equals submit, and that is going to have a value of submit. And that should be fine. I don't need this method here. And again, this is going to be called form. So this will be form, and this will be form. Okay, and then we can go over here to app, import dot slash form. Okay, oh, that's fine. Okay, and then we're going to want that to display conditionally. So we're going to say this dot show form. If that's true, then we're going to once again put in here HTML form. Okay, and otherwise we will put nothing. Okay, now we just need a button to show that form. So a button that says create, and let's make a method for that button to invoke. So toggle form. Essentially all this really does is say this dot show form equals this, not this dot show form. Okay, so let's see here. So does that work? Well, let's see if it's actually running. Oh wait, I didn't actually attach the thing. So add click equals this dot toggle form. Okay, and it works. There we go. There's the form, although it doesn't have a submit button, so let's go inspect that. So form, what's wrong with my submit? Type equals submit. Is that what you want? Nope, doesn't have my submit button. Input type equals submit. Oh, I never closed this, that's why. There you go. Okay, cool. So we got our form. Okay, so far this is not shaping up too bad. Okay, I'm liking how this is going. Okay, this definitely is a much more manageable. Okay, and now what I want to do is just pass down some more props to the form. Okay, so dot reminder equals this dot reminder. Do I have that defined? Nope, let's do that. Okay, reminder, which is going to be of type string. Actually, I can just copy this from form. Reminder, copy all these. Back over to app. There we go. That looks good to me. And then generally their initial values are going to be the same as well. So I'll copy this. So that'll go over here. And then I can go over here and do like this dot reminder dot underscore ID equals this dot underscore ID dot action equals this dot action, and completed dot completed equals this dot completed. Okay. Okay, so the form shows up. Okay. Now I just need to start creating all these like functions for, okay, and technically that logic should have gone in a different function. I should make a async get to do's method. And copy this into there. And then say over here, we'll say this dot get to do's. Okay. That way we can use that get to do's function multiple times. Okay, and then also in there what we're going to do is we're going to reset the state after each go around. Okay. Okay, that's by doing infinite renders, Z. Okay. That to do is that data. Then I want to reset state. Put this in there, but just take out things like to do. Take out the URL. Take out this dot show form, this dot reminder, find, this action, create. Okay, yeah, that's kind of all good for me. So then again after this, we do dot reset state. Okay, we're good. That is good for me. Okay, toggle form. So now we just need to create this update. Async update, or handle update, or handle create actually. Always keep making the same mistake. Keep confusing which one I'm doing first. Async await fetch this dot URL method post headers. Okay, so headers, I want that to be content type, application JSON, and then we say body, JSON dot stringify. This should be receiving a to-do. Okay, and that'll stringify the to-do. And then when that's done, it will then go get to-dos, and that'll reset everything. Okay, cool. And while I'm at it, let me just make the other functions, since they're all pretty much slight variations on each other. So then handle update. Get this to URL plus slash to do dot underscore ID. Okay, except now it's a put method. And otherwise the same. Okay, and then we copy that one. And we'll make handle delete. And this is going to be generally the same thing, except it's a delete request. And we don't need all this. Okay. So let's go past the update and delete function, update and create functions down to the form. So here's our form. Let's keep passing it down more stuff. Okay. Dot handle create equals this dot handle create. And dot handle update equals this dot handle update. So we pass that all down to the form. Form should have that now. Now we're going to create a handle submit function for when we submit the form. Handle submit, which should receive the event. and then do an event.prevent default to prevent refreshing of the page, and then we will construct the to-do. Okay. Now, question: does this automatically bind forms? Doesn't say anything about forms. Other features, composition, Boolean, loop, conditional, property, content, existing nodes in the shadow DOM. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have to use query selector. Queries all provide a convenient way to access nodes and components in the shadow root, but that we're not using the TypeScript version, so not worried about slotted children. Okay, so there's no form bindings, my point. Okay, so we got to do this. TX. Okay, next let me just check one other thing first before I do it. Going forward, if I do this, I go like this, and I do that. Okay, that answers that question. Okay, event.prevent default. Okay, then what I want to do is say const text equals this dot shadow root dot query selector, and what I want is the input of type equals text, and I'm going to want its, yeah, that's fine. And then let's just do the same thing for the checkbox. Checkbox, and then we can say const to do equals reminder text.value value, and then checkbox dot checked. Cool. That's going to create like the to-do object to pass to our function. Then we're going to say const if update if this dot action equals create, then we'll do one thing. And if this dot action equals update, we do another thing. Okay. And basically, I just want to call this dot handle create, pass the to do. And now that I think about it, let's see here. Well, we'll see if we need to do binding. We'll see how they handle this. And then what this would do is just take that to do dot and add an underscore ID property to it, and say it equals this dot underscore ID. And then it would be like this dot handle update, passing in the to do. Okay, so that's kind of should be theoretically all set. We'll find out in a moment. Now we just need to attach this handle submit method to the form input. So at submit equals this dot handle submit. Okay. Let's just see again. Does it handle binding and all that stuff just fine without me having to go think about it? So let's put some gibberish. Hit submit. Yep, figured. This that I get to do is not a function. Yep. Okay. So we need to do some binding, meaning wrapping things in arrow functions. So That's the event. So I'm just basically passing the event over to the handle submit function. And then I'm going to head over to app and then pass these as, so we'll pass it to do. And then we'll invoke this that handle create with this to do. T T. Okay, and that should fix it. Okay, so I put some gibberish. Yep, that works. That works wonderfully. Okay, so that so far we're looking pretty good. So now what I need to do is go to display. We need to just make one more function to select to do. Okay, so async select to do, or we actually just select. Just call it select, and we'll be passed the to do. Okay, and what it's going to do, so it's going to take that to do and say this dot underscore ID equals this dot underscore ID equals to do dot underscore ID. This dot reminder equals to do dot reminder, and this dot completed equals to do dot completed. This dot action equals update, and this dot show form equals true. Okay, so now we're going to pass these over to display. So let's just kind of clean up display a little bit so that way it's easy to pass in. Okay, dot select equals this dot select. Actually, we want an arrow function because of binding, because, you know, prototypes. Okay, and then we also want to pass in the delete method. Delete to do, actually we can just say delete equals okay, T handle delete, let me pass in that to do. Okay. Okay, let me just assume that has to do with the name. Tell the set. Make sure that this is all display dot to dos dot select. Okay, I'm gonna assume that maybe it still needs me to specify like select and that. So let's just go to specify those properties. Select, which is going to be type function, and then there is select and what do I call it? Delete to do, which will be again type function. Okay, and then I need to make sure I specify them here. This dot select equals, and then the arrow function. This dot delete to do equals, and then the arrow function. Does that fix it? No. We'll be right back. Oop, forgot to unpause. But yeah, no, the issue was I was just missing a quotation mark right here. That was the issue. So actually, let me just do this. Change these back to select and delete because that's easier. And let's go back to display and just make sure that says delete. And then this says delete. So it all matches up. Okay. And basically what I want is I also want a button. Okay, a button that says delete. And then again, basically when we click on that button, at click equals, again, we gotta bind things. Okay, so that's gonna pass in the to-do, or really we're gonna pass in this dot delete the to-do. Okay, so let's see if that works. Good, that works. And then, so that means we're home clear. Then at click on the H3 equals another arrow function that's going to say this dot select a to do. So now when I click on that one, I should get the form pop up ready to edit. Yep. Now let's see, does it work? Oh, ran into an issue that didn't update as expected. Okay, so let's click on it again. But if I say eat brunch 2, does that work? So I can edit there. It's the form toggling that's not necessarily working right. Okay, so in that case, let's do this. I want to console.log I want to console dot dir text and checkbox. Oh, I have to do I think one at a time. Console dot dir. This shows me just all the properties of the element when I'm console logging a node, and then I want to console.log the to do. Okay, so let's do this. I want to untap that. Okay, so let me just see here. Manual eat brunch false. That looks fine. That should. So why wouldn't that update? Okay. So this is the checkbox, and there should be a property called checked. Checked false. Weird. So let's go take a look at the handle update function. See that I missed something in there? It's going to be an app handle update. JSON.stringify to do. Yeah, that should be getting the right. Let's console.log to do in here. Sure. Let's get rid of some of these other console logs. I think I got some. Let's get rid of this one. Oh, I see. See, I called it checkbox. My bad. I see what we did. So this should be completed. That's where we went wrong. Okay, because we got to match the schema. And again, if you haven't seen me build the Express API, videos in the video description. But now I should be able to go like this, and huzzah! Okay, there we go. We built full CRUD functionality with lit element. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Cool. Okay, neat. So I'll see you all later on. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Again, I will push this code. Link to this build and all the other videos and code for all the other builds will be in the video description, so that way you can see all the different ways I built the same exact front-end app for the same exact API. But now I'm going to be moving on. I'm still going to be doing some Express stuff, but I think what I want to do is I want to try out like Alpine, HTMX. Those are more made to complement server-side rendering. So I'm going to do some videos where I build an Express app and we'll implement HTMX and Alpine, server-side rendering and all that fun stuff. So I'll see you guys in those videos. Otherwise, have a great day and enjoy.